I was on Steam the other day when all of a sudden this weird looking source game called Deluxe 24 was recommended to me. I looked at the screenshots and got very confused. Why would someone pay $100 to put a mod like this on Steam? And what can lead someone to make something like this in the first place? I went investigating and found out that Maxon Claxon, the person who made the game, has made over 19 different mods and indie games since 2019, and somehow none of them ever got popular. Instead of asking questions, I decided to play through all of them to get a better understanding of what was going on inside his mind. What you are about to witness can either be described as a modder having a creative breakdown, or maybe, in the best case scenario, a modder who wanted to make mods for fun without caring if other people would enjoy them. In 2019, Max released a Team Fortress 2 mod called Donkey Maze. It is already easy to understand where the inspiration for Deluxe 24 came from. Max did not go insane when working on that. He was already insane. Donkey Maze is not that bad. Matter of fact, it is probably Max's most comprehensible mod, which does not say a lot. The objective is to go through a maze, complete some puzzles until you get to this very difficult boss, which seems to not be able to die. Reach this area, die to some turrets a couple of times, complete some obstacle courses, and that is pretty much it. Not bad, but I would not call it groundbreaking either. Moving on to 2020, Max released The Vault of the 15 Monkeys? What? Yeah, so it is not the most interesting game ever. There is a story to it, but it kept freezing, so I was not able to finish it. To me, this looks like someone's first project, so let's not say anything bad about it, and let's just move on. In 2021, Maxon Claxon released a top-down 2D RPG game called Nikio 2, where you can play as a cock. The game makes no sense whatsoever. We have no story or objective, and the NPC dialogue is just a bunch of random stuff. I tried exploring the map, and the same enemies kept attacking me over and over again, so there was no point in continuing. Oh, and Among Us. And this cat is racist. In the next 18 months or so, Max worked on a Half-Life 1 mod called Cartoon Violets and released about 50 different versions of it on ModDB. In this video, I will play through the Ultra version because that's the most up-to-date one. We start here. To progress, you have to stack some boxes, get a deagle, look at bananas, and shoot this thing. Some zombies show up, you get on a building, which apparently is a bank, and at this point I was met with confusion. Pressing this button did nothing. Oh wait, a hidden vent. Let's jump in it. Oh, a soft lock. Great. I reloaded a save and pressed the button again, and this time this gate opened. Next we have to steal a shotgun from a big vending machine and escape to the sewers. More zombies show up. Oh no! The gate that leads to freedom is closed and needs to be opened by completing a puzzle. A tank appears out of nowhere and one-shots me. Puzzle again. Put box here to proceed, go through the sewers, get ambushed by HECU soldiers, and blah blah blah, who cares? What I don't like about this section is that it is very difficult to see the soldiers, which can be pretty frustrating. All of a sudden, we are in Zen, where some turrets are conveniently waiting for us. This is where the smoking crack part of the mod starts. Yes, let's place turrets above the player and not give him any HP. Let's also place a revolver on a platform and then have it destroy itself, and also let's have the player watch a YouTube playthrough just because pressing this button did nothing the first 10 times it was pressed. And why not put some HECU soldiers behind these doors without giving the player any HP to have a chance to fight them? Yeah. At no point was this advertised as a difficult or troll mod, and I played it on easy mode, so my assumption is that it was never playtested. A couple of excruciating minutes later, the mod wants the player to move some boxes and turn 2 valves to open a door. The problem is that this does not work. Why? Because there is a third valve that needs to be turned. Can you notice it? Hold on, let's zoom in. Zoom in even more. Yeah, that right there. What do you mean you cannot see it? What, are you blind? Doing that leads the player to a train. To proceed, you must find a hidden button and press it. The problem is, the button, again, does not work. Except wait, it does work, but only after pressing it a million times. A very boring train ride later, the next map loads in and look at that. Another soft lock. I could not move and had to reload a save. A helicopter appears out of nowhere and must be destroyed with a turret. Except it ends up destroying itself. A tank and a helicopter start shooting at the player at the same time. The tank cannot be destroyed with explosive and the helicopter does not even exist. It's probably just God shooting at us from the sky. You're going to have to go through agonizing pain to complete this. The objective of this section is to go through a bunch of towers, press some buttons and destroy these platforms so the weird object can fall on the tank to destroy it. I pressed a button and moved on to the next tower. Or at least that was the idea, but the tank and God shooting at me from the sky had other plans. But finally I got in and jumped in the sewers, only to be greeted by an obstacle course. Getting up to the tower, the player must use a turret to destroy one of the platforms and then jump down to move on to the next tower. The problem is that it is impossible to get down without getting shot by the tank or without just dying because of fall damage. The next tower, aka the HECU tower, was okay. What was not okay was the last tower. The mod wants the player to walk on this platform and get to a valve while both a tank and God are shooting in his direction at the same time. There is no way this is possible without God mode. No pun intended. Destroying the tank leads us to another obstacle course and we are back in Zen, where more obstacle courses and unfair turret sections wait for us. Just look at how engaging this is. One more platforming section later, the sun is somehow leaking and here's one more puzzle. Trying to understand what the developer intended when making the puzzle is almost as difficult as trying to understand the Five Nights at Freddy's lore, so I no-clipped past this nonsense, got stuck in this place for 5 minutes because there was no way to open the door, watched a door open itself 5 different ways and then got to Zen again, only to get back to the real world not 30 seconds later and get stuck on another puzzle because the glass that was in front of the button that I needed to push to open a door would not break. The same thing could be said about this button as well. One more crate puzzle later, a giant HECU robot from the German version of Half-Life 1 showed up and obliterated me. This is supposed to be a chase sequence, but it doesn't really work when you have 2 HP. Somehow, someway, the main protagonist is back in Zen, and wait, the giant robot is also there. But how? I don't know. We pressed a few buttons to destroy whatever these things are supposed to be, to blow up the robot and get teleported to the real world again. And now on to the last map of Cartoon Violets. The mod teleports us outside of the map intentionally, and the only way to get back in the map is to walk around the edges of the map, where it's very difficult to fall in the void. You're also going to have to get stuck on a mountain and deal with a couple of tanks who will not hesitate to shoot everything that moves. These buttons can be pressed, but again, pressing them does nothing. I am going to assume they were supposed to open this door. An eagle. Apparently, reaching the eagle means you have reached the end of the mod. Look, I'm really trying to look for the positives here, but it is kind of difficult. And let's put it this way, if someone spent years working on an album and it ended up sounding like shit because the one who made the album had no idea how music theory works, would you listen to it every single day and recommend it to other people just because a lot of work went into it? Or would you say, wait a minute, this is garbage, and move on with your life? So while it can be appreciated that one single person made so much stuff, it does not mean the stuff he made cannot be criticized, so please keep that in mind. The next mod on the list is called Edstead Stead and was released about 2 months after the final release of Cartoon Violets. Unfortunately, just like Cartoon Violets, Edstead Stead makes no sense whatsoever. The mod soft-locked itself 2 minutes in. I honestly have no idea what it's even about. There are many puzzles, all of them make no sense whatsoever. Oh, and I fell out of the map. Not even the guy who made a YouTube walkthrough knew how to complete this. Next on our list is a different experience, I guess. A game made of 6 minigames. Shotgun Soccer, Anti-Golf, Javelin Houston, what the hell, how is that pronounced? Radical Racers, Ray-Gun Bowling, and Mr. Sleepy. Even though it was simple, the anti-golf minigame was kind of addictive. It cleared my mind for what was to come. Remember Talking Ben, the weird mobile phone app? Maxon Claxon decided to remake it and released Talking Benadryl in November of 2022. Calling it weird would be an understatement.
Careful with my toes there, I have an undiagnosed foot fungus. Suffer the effects of chronic diarrhea.
Moving on to Honey on the Slaughter and Honey on the Slaughter Entrance to Oblivion, obviously the inspiration for them was Vampire Survivors. Again, they are not groundbreaking by any means, but they are kind of fun to play. What's interesting is that you get different weapons to deal with the enemies each time you respawn, which means it will take a while for the game to get repetitive. In 2023, Maxon Claxon released Fractamania, a rail shooter which seems to be in the same universe as the Honey on the Slaughter games. The objective is to complete 50 waves of enemy attacks. Each 10 waves you get to draw a dice and get a random special ability for the next 10 waves, which can be stuff like no reload or getting a million HP. Beating the game without an auto-clicker is more or less impossible. Some of these enemies need to be shot a million times to die, and the game also throws like 50 of them at the player at the same time. Not even the 1 million HP ability could help me. Dying a couple of times during wave 27 resulted in the game going back to wave 20, which made me give up. Maybe Tractamania 2, the next game in the Tractamania series, is going to be better. Tractamania 2 is a fast-paced Doom WOD released in December of 2023. First you have to punch your way through a room of running dumbasses. For a Doom WOD, their AI is not that bad. They can either punch or kick the player, and fighting them is fun. What is not fun is the level design. Let's have this button here, but instead of showing the player what it does, let him wander around for like 10 minutes, only to find out the button actually drained this water and now it is possible to jump to your death. To get through this, you're going to have to hold the space button to activate a parachute, something that the mod never teaches the player to do. Anyway, the following couple of areas are fine. Kill a new enemy type, go through a mini obstacle course, get a shotgun, rip and tear, and oh, what is this? Some kind of ninja or whatever this thing is supposed to be shows up, and to be fair, the combat is actually good. A boss battle begins and ends a few seconds later. A major problem of Tractamania 2 is its optimization. Don't know how visible it is on the recording, but the amount of stuttering you get while playing it can make the combat very annoying. But to be honest, even with the stuttering, Tractamania 2 was an improvement compared to everything else, except for the boss battle of the first level. His allies can spawn inside of you, which leads to taking instant damage. Even on the easiest difficulty, he needs to be shot 50 times and can one-shot the player. However, it has to be said that there is a very easy way to kill him that I discovered later on, but that way of killing him was never introduced and can only be discovered by accident. Anyway, moving on to the second level, aka the most fun I had recording footage playing a Maxon Claxon game, the mod did not stutter as much, which was nice to see. The gameplay was fun, and even though it was sometimes kind of difficult to understand what to do or where to go, I did not get lost. This level introduces more open areas, obstacle courses, which is a very weird thing to have in a Doom WOD, a dancing spring trap, flying enemies, and a new weapon that can either stun the enemies using ice or just shoot grenades. At this point I realized the melee weapon has the ability to stop time, which would have been extremely useful to know one level ago and would have made the boss battle 5 times easier. There's also a section where the mod takes advantage of the parachute mechanic pretty well by making the player jump and then use the parachute to fall on the platforms above. Well done! Finally a good puzzle. Other than that, we get to play on a supposed test map for a future update. The map showcases the new pistol and a dog mechanic. Unfortunately, no further update was released, which is kind of sad. About 2 months later, Maxon Claxon released another Doom WOD called 2002's Rotten. Unlike Tractamania 2, 2002's Rotten is mostly just a test map where you can play as a green gooner, killing other gooners in third person. The WOD crashed 5 times in a matter of 15 minutes. I found a secret and wasted 2 minutes just, getting to the top of this structure only to get shown the middle finger. The next game on the list is a text-to-speech big boot big head? What?
Sun is leaking.
Then we have Ramashu Snail of Torment, and unfortunately I cannot show you any of this, so let's move on. In July of 2024, Max released Torment of Chance, which seems to be Monopoly but for crazy people. It's possible to play it with other people or just by yourself, and my favorite thing about it was being able to gamble. To be honest, this can only be played if you are high or under the influence, because otherwise, I mean, what exactly are you supposed to get from this? The next game on the list is Monotony Full Action. It's a Hotline Miami kind of game, and even has a storyline that I do not really understand. There are many levels to play through, and my favorite thing about it is the ability to choose the weapons and the items you want to use in the level before actually playing the level. Some of the AI can be kind of brain dead at times, and sometimes the enemies can spawn inside the player again, but yeah, enjoyable game. Finally, time to talk about Less Deluxe 24. But before that, quick mention that Max released another mod called La Joy Tecna back in 2023, but the download link no longer works. But I think that's just a blessing in disguise, because if you look at the screenshots, I mean, dear god, what is going on here? And finally, time to talk about Less Deluxe 24. This mod's purpose is to try explaining the 7 stages of grief using Half-Life 2 maps. So chapter 1, Denial. So far, everything looks like a normal Half-Life 2 map. We start in a basement and must go upstairs to get into this room. The house is suddenly upside down. A missing texture man appears and... What is happening? This is where everything starts going wrong. Why did everything turn into Minecraft 2B2T? What does any of this have to do with Denial? Why is it so easy to fall off the map? The missing texture guy appears again and a new map. By the way, what exactly is this HUD? Walk around until you find the purple guy and then the next map loads in. Basically, it's a game of hide and seek on some very bad and confusing maps. Not sure how anyone would find these maps to be enjoyable or fun to play through. Some of them look like they were ported from TF2, quickly retextured and then put in the game. In my opinion, the only way to beat this mod is to use noclip and matte wireframe, otherwise you're gonna waste your time. These maps are way too big and nothing ever happens. The stage of grief you play through has no bearing on the maps. What exactly does this have to do with depression? What does this have to do with acceptance? Why does the question mark chapter run in 2 FPS? Why is the bonus chapter just an empty map full of errors? My original plan was to cover Less Deluxe map by map, but I think that would be a waste of time. The only redeeming quality of this game is what happens at the beginning of each chapter. The house changes based on the stage of grief, and some moments were creepy as hell, but that is it. A concept that could have been explained in one single map just keeps going and never stops. I believe there are like 60 maps in total. Who is gonna play all of that when it's the exact same thing every single time? I don't understand. Maybe Less Deluxe is a cry for help. I have no idea what the developer is going through. If that is the case, then Max, I hope you can find the help you need. If that is not the case, well, what happened? Seriously, I'm concerned, like what is going on here? My hope is that other mod makers watch this video and learn what not to do when developing something. My advice to Max is to keep making mods and maybe learn a couple of things about level design before making or at least publishing another mod, because otherwise you're just gonna keep publishing stuff like this which makes no sense whatsoever. The best way to keep making mods, in my opinion, would be to either ask the community for feedback, play games that have some good level design like Half-Life 2 or Halo Combat Evolved, or a game that has a good positive review on Steam, or just maybe playtest your mods before releasing them, because that would save us a lot of time. This way, maybe Max will one day actually win a Mod of the Year award. Hopefully the next project he releases will be much better. See you next time!